Hey guys, we're here for week 3's educational video. The idea around this week is around strategy. So we're just going to have an open conversation with the guys about training in particular, their strategy for training, their strategy around keeping their programming sustainable, recovery. There's a couple of questions that have come up particularly around training and overtraining, so we'll address that. Overtraining, if that's the big question that's been asked a bit. When you guys think about overtraining, what does that mean to you?
I think personally that it can really creep up on you as well. Overtraining has a lot to do with what's going on in your life outside of the gym. So for me personally, I know that if I've got a stressful week coming up or I haven't slept very well, then I add training, which is another source of stress on top of that, then it really beats me down. So it sort of does creep up on you, but I think you got to be aware and sort of really, I guess aware is the right word, where you have to know what's going on in your life and how that can impact you. Because if you come into the gym off 2-3 hours sleep, then you try and lift heavy as well, it's just going to start running your body down. So it's something that you've really got to be mindful of.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do have to remember that everyone is different as well. So, you know, Tom's version of overtraining might be very different to a beginner's version of overtraining. So, you know, you've got to get used to adapting to that new stress. So, yeah, just keep that in mind. It is different for everyone. So, just something to keep in mind as you do train, and make sure that you are listening to what your body is telling you, not just doing what someone else tells you or what they're doing as well. I think that's key.
Yeah. Okay, so if we were to maybe look at your weeks, and if you had one of those weeks where it was busy, you know, you just had a full calendar, you knew maybe you had a few early mornings, a few late nights coming up, how would you prioritize your training? How would you strategize your programming for the week to make sure you got your absolutes? What are your absolute, your must-dos?
Okay, so I always think that rather than what's going to make me better tomorrow, what's going to make me better next week and the next month. So if I train 5 times this week, but I'm absolutely hammered, then I feel like crap the next week, I would rather train 3 times this week and next week and feel better next month, because it's just sort of that training's going to be about the consistency. Do you know what I mean? So if you come in and you're beaten up, then you feel crappy next week, there's no point. So I sort of think about, I look at my program, I look at my priority, my goals, what can I sort of cull maybe from that week to make it a smaller training session or a less intense training session. And it's not often what do I want to be doing, it's sort of what do I need to be doing. So if I'm sort of prioritizing a squat or something, then I'd be focusing on my squat. Or maybe if I'm a poor deadlifter, I'm not just going to say I'm going to get rid of deadlifts this week, because you still want to be working towards your goal each week.
Yeah, definitely. I think you just want to simplify. If you do have a really busy week coming up and you can't commit the normal time you normally would, you do need to simplify your program and take priority of those bigger lifts, the things that are most important to your goals. So if you're looking at fat loss, for example, and you're only going to get in a couple of times, maybe you want to make sure you're hitting up those HIIT sessions and not wasting time just working on getting a stronger squat when your goal is to lose body fat. So you definitely want to use your priorities efficiently if you don't have the full time to work out.
So on that then, like if I miss a day I've got a busy week, I plan to train, and then I miss a day that I'd scheduled in, how do I catch that up, or how do I get the mindset to get back in on it?
I reckon don't try and catch it up, just continue where you left off. So if you miss a day, don't do 2 sessions the next day to make up for it, or back to back, and then you start risk overtraining again. You need to just continue where you left off, not let that day derail your whole program. Again, like Tom was saying before, it's not what you do tomorrow or the next day, it's about how you're going to go over the whole 8-week challenge and benefit the whole 8 weeks, not just try and make up 1 extra session tomorrow, because that is not going to make the difference at the end of the 8 weeks, whether you missed that 1 session and then double it up.
Alright.
Yeah, I agree in a way. I think if you miss a day and it's only Monday and you can logistically make up a day, maybe it's worth it, rather, depending on how you're feeling obviously. But if it gets to Friday and you say, I haven't done 3 days, and you try and cram that all in before your weekend, then you've got to have a big weekend, you won't be feeling any good afterwards. So I think you've got to be smart around when you're trying to, if you miss a day, when is that day, and how can you sort of build on that?
Okay, cool. So just coming back to the overtraining aspect, so my body feels like I've overtrained. I've had a big week, I've done multiple sessions and back-to-backs, bad sleep, all those things. How do I consider that in a recovery session?
Yeah. Okay. So your body needs to recover differently from different sort of modes of training. So strength training will you might need to deload by sort of not doing as much strength training or not doing as many sets or reps. And then from a sort of HIIT training, I would say you can pull up quite sore. So just make sure you keep moving so you don't get too sore. And then also I would look at what are you doing for recovery? Are you foam rolling? Are you stretching? Are you eating well? What other things can you be doing at home that's going to really help bump your progress in this 8-week transformation?
Yeah, absolutely. And even just some general active recovery as well can help as well. So even just going for a bit of a walk, like kicking the footy with the kids or anything like that can be done as a bit of active recovery. Always the foam roll, like Tom was saying, the rolling and the stretching is important as well, but also just keep moving as well. The worst thing you can do is sit still and not do anything about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Tempting though when those DOMs set in, but yeah, I agree. Active recovery has always been that best form. What in? I have to edit there and go another question. Where was I going on from that? Best way to recover. What is overtraining? How many times?
Just go.
Oh, and go here.
Fun, yeah.
I'll go. How many times? Recommendations should we train? So I'm keen for a couple of answers to this one. I'm interested to know how many times you guys train a week, and then what you put into your weeks for your recovery. But then I'm also interested to your recommendations on our 8-week transformation. How many times do you think our guys should be training each week to help get them to their goal?
Yeah. Okay, so personally I'll probably train about 5 times a week, and 3 of those days will be heavy lifting, then 2 of those days are sort of scattered around that, and they're sort of more the corrective exercises, those lower intensity sort of sessions.
Do you take days off in between those heavy stuff?
Yeah, I do. So I don't just take Saturday, Sunday off, I sort of take days off in between, which I find a bit more valuable than trying to go 5 days on, 2 days off. And then for the for the ladies as well, doing the 8-week transformation, I think it depends on your goal, but I think that it can be, I've seen a couple of people sort of hitting up 2 classes, 3 classes back to back, and that's when you just get absolutely shagged from that. Especially you really need your good nutrition after that, so you got to make sure that you're eating as well as you're training, and I would stray away from those sort of back to back sessions depending on your goals, because if you go strength, HIIT, spin, your body's confused. Are you trying to put on muscle? Are you trying to lose fat? Are you trying to get fit? It just sort of sends your body into shambles, really.
Yeah, I personally train. I do 5 days a week as well, but they would be scattered between strength days, about 3 of those. One day is a martial arts day, so that's a good movement day for me. So it's half active recovery, half working hard as well. And then also, I always just have a fun day as well. Do a day or exercise that I just generally like to do that aren't necessarily like helping my strength program or anything like that, but I just like to do them. So that's just like I do what I want day. It's still active, still work hard, but it's a bit of fun as well. And I think that's important to keep it fun for yourself as well. You don't want to just be stuck doing the things that you don't like doing, otherwise you're not going to do them.
Yeah, that's good. That leads into that next question of, like we recover, but how do you recharge? Like 8 weeks is a long time. It's a long time. You're building discipline, you're doing all these things, but we want to keep it fun. What are you guys scheduling for your own, keeping your training fresh, keeping your lifestyle fresh? What's your deload? What's your recharge?
Yeah. So I agree with the first comment. Like the 8 weeks is a long time. It's longer than our 6 weeks transformation. I think you guys got to think about it as 8 weeks and not how much can I do in 3 weeks and bomb out for 1 week. So sort of think about what are you going to be doing now that's going to make it better in 8 weeks, and how am I going to stay injury-free, healthy? I don't want to come down with the flu because overtraining would do that. So for the 8-week transformation, it'd be make sure you're consistent from week to week, and make sure that you're looking at that long-term goal rather than how am I going to be doing halfway. Because you can sort of get amazing results halfway and then sort of drop off the last 4 if you're going to be cooked and you're going to be overtraining. Training for me to keep it fun, I train with a group. So twice a week, very similar to you guys, I will head to a gym and sort of train with some like-minded people, and sort of you can bounce some ideas off each other, you can sort of make it social, and then you're not just sort of banging your head against a squat rack by yourself 5 days a week. So for me, it's training with other people, which is what keeps it fun for me.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And also the just being able to get outside as well is a good big thing as well. So some people, you're stuck in a gym all the time for 8 weeks. You don't want to be doing that the whole time. So I'm getting outside as well. Hitting up the, go do Mount Lofty, walk do a hiking trail. you know, some people are really hot on being outside, and the weather's getting better now, so it's even better to do that nowadays. So you know, I get out with the kids and we have a kick of the footy. We run around outside because they're more active than me, so I've got to keep up with them. So that's a bit way to recharge and just spend some time with people as well. I think, yeah, like Tom said, it can be very isolating when you're working in a gym on your own, stuck in a squat rack the whole time. It is isolating. It can be good for some things, but also I think being around people is just a good way to recover and just charge yourself up. And then, you know, you're spending quality time with people, and then quality time sometimes by yourself training as well.
Yeah, great. So the focus of our little chat today wanted to be around strategy for training. 8 weeks, we've said 8 weeks is a long time. We're week 3, there's lots to go. We hope that you're finding your rhythm, you're finding your fit. We've talked a lot about nutrition, but if you've got any other questions around how to maybe work on some strategy to keep those disciplined and consistent, by all means ask us some questions. We can get back to you on it. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to focus on recovery. And we're also going to focus on programming. So halfway through the transformation, we want you to think about your programming, your training. Are the numbers shifting to the weight you're doing, reps, sets, and recovery? We want to actively get you into the GT room, maybe here to the gym, and do some specific recovery sessions. So keep your eye out for those coming up. But yeah, we look forward to hearing more about how you're going in your 8 weeks. We'll chat to you soon.
Cheers. Like.